For more than a decade, Novak Djokovic stood as one of the greatest players to ever pick up a racket. He was the man who broke Federer and Nadal's hold on the sport, the one who kept pushing boundaries of what seemed possible. But now, at 38 years old, the balance has shifted. Djokovic still plays at a level that few can touch, yet Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner have emerged as constant barriers, turning his chase for more slams into a fight that feels harder than ever. For the first time in years, Djokovic looks like the one chasing, and that's raised the question, has he once again become the third guy? When Djokovic broke onto the scene in the mid-2000s, men's tennis already had its two kings. Federer's dominance looked untouchable, and Nadal's clay court reign was complete. And Djokovic was the outsider fighting for scraps. In those early years, he was often dismissed as the third guy, talented, but not on their level. That started to change in 2011. Djokovic ripped through the season with a 41 match winning streak, beating both Federer and Nadal repeatedly. He took down Nadal at Wimbledon that year, and suddenly he wasn't the third guy anymore. The 2019 Wimbledon final against Federer summed it up perfectly. Djokovic saved 2 match points on Federer's serve, and somehow found a way to win in the longest final in the tournament's history. It was brutal, dramatic, and it underlined the truth that kept repeating. Even when he wasn't the crowd's favourite, Djokovic was the one who walked away with the trophy. Over time, he earned respect not just for winning, but for doing it in the toughest circumstance imaginable. His ability to silence stadiums filled with Federer or Nadal's fans became part of his identity, and while he eventually surpassed both in slam count, the memory of being that third guy never fully disappeared. Fast forward to today, however, and the cycle has repeated itself. Djokovic is no longer the young disruptor, he's the established legend, and the next generation have arrived to push him aside. Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner aren't just any young players though, they're the ones who built the game designed to beat him. Alcaraz, with his explosive forehand and endless energy, feels like a reincarnation of Nadal, but with a more complete all-surface game. The 2023 Wimbledon final proved it completely. Djokovic had dominated centre court for more than a decade, yet Alcaraz stepped up in only his second Wimbledon tournament of his career and ended that reign.
From Spain, Carlos Alcaraz.
It was a 5-set clash that felt like a passing of the torch, not just another loss. The insane amount of confidence Alcaraz had in himself in these pressure moments made Djokovic look uncharacteristically uncertain, something we've rarely seen before in tournaments. And since then, Alcaraz has continued to grow sharper, often raising his level exactly when facing Djokovic. Then there's Jannik Sinner. He's cool, calculated, and armed with raw power. He's become Djokovic's most consistent problem on hard courts. Their meeting in Melbourne and New York have often ended in Sinner standing firm, while Djokovic flattered in key moments. In the 2024 Australian Open semi-final, Sinner finally beat him at a Grand Slam, snapping one of Djokovic's strongest streaks. The image of Djokovic walking off Rod Laver Arena with his head down says it all. This wasn't just another match, but it was a signal that the gap had closed. What makes Sinner especially dangerous though is his calmness. He didn't get rattled by the moment. Even when facing the greatest returner the game has ever seen, he was still able to hit through Djokovic in ways few players could ever do so, turning matches that seemed unpredictable into genuine contest. What's striking is that Djokovic remains far better than most of the tour. Against nearly everyone else, he still cruises past them. But against just these two players, the pattern has become extremely clear. He's reached semi-finals, sometimes finals, but Alcaraz and Sinner both block. They're not just beating him, but they're stopping his rhythm, forcing him to spend hours on court only to fall short of the main prize. It's the same story that defined his early career. Once again, Djokovic finds himself as the third guy. And while it might feel familiar, this time it's harder to see how he flips the script, because age is no longer on his side. So why is this even happening in the first place? Age, yes, but also the wear and tear of nearly 2 decades at top 10. His recovery isn't what it used to be. The lightning quick reactions that once turned defense into offense are fading, and the grind of a best of 5 slam match takes more out of him than it did in his 20s. On top of that, the mental weight has grown even heavier. Djokovic has carried the pressure of chasing history for years, and now every slam feels like a dip on his legacy. Even the smallest fall in focus can be costly against players like Alcaraz and Sinner. Add in the fact that the tour itself has grown much more physical, the rally's longer, the power is more intense, and everyone is usually back at the baseline rallying it out until their opponent has made a mistake. And it's clear why staying at the top is even harder than ever. Small injuries that once healed in a few days now linger for weeks, even months, forcing him to be selective of his schedule, missing out smaller matches and tournaments while taking on the big Grand Slams. And so now, every appearance has to be carefully calculated. Inevitably, however, these everyday challenges point towards retirement. Djokovic has managed to hold them off for longer than most, but the signs are still there. The losses aren't frequent, but they're becoming even more telling. Each one chips away at his invincibility he's built over the years, and in the unforgiving world of elite sport, perception can shift extremely quick. For a player who's always thrived on mental dominance, that key change can be the hardest moment of it all. Yet, if there's one thing Djokovic has always done, it's adapt. He's famous for his strict diet, his stretching routines, and his meditation, even his ability to manage a schedule that maximizes performance at slams. He's still training with the same intensity he did a few years ago, and he's still obsessed with recovery and longevity. But to extend his career even further, he may need to limit his schedule even more, save himself only for Grand Slams and main tournaments, just like he's been doing already. He could also focus on small adjustments to stay sharp against the very best. Whether that will be enough remains to be seen. Djokovic has already proven himself as one of the greatest of all time, but in this new era, the battle he can't seem to win is not against the field, but it's against two young players who refuse to let him pass, and against time itself. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It would mean so much if you liked, subscribed, and watched one of these videos on screen now. I also have a link in the pinned comment down below to a private tennis community full of players just like you, and it would mean so much if you joined there.